What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very joyful, happy, sunshine and rainbows edition of the CKL podcast.
Actual
Well,
rainbows.
it's been weeks. There was a double rainbow at the game. Like, what could it mean? It could mean we get our win after 13 matches without one. That's what it means.
A double
And
a double rainbow doesn't guarantee a win, though. We know that
it's
for sure.
true. It's true. We saw one
We've
at one
seen
of the
them
women's
before.
matches.
Yes.
Yes. But this one was a very auspicious double rainbow. So, like, it is the double rainbow or something. I don't know. There were a lot of things. Everybody was claiming they were the cause of the turnaround with the luck. Like, Jessica's birthday happened. Like, I saw somebody there that was like, oh, yeah, my friend came for the first time ever and we won. Somebody else was like, hey, my friend didn't come for the first time ever, and that's why we won. I don't know what it was. I have no clue. You know, like Tim with the Railbirds, he marked out the UK on his kit because there is like some weird superstition that UK sponsorship is the curse. He marked it out, and then we won. I don't know what happened. Maybe everybody just needs to do everything again. I told Jessica she has to have a birthday every single weekend, so she'll be 109 by the end of the season. And
it's okay. It'll be worth it.
I didn't check the math. It's probably not right. It'll probably be more like 40 or something. But you know what? Take one for the team. You know, if I have to have a million birthdays, I'll do it too.
For sure. Yeah, my friend Brian came with me, and he's been to 4 games this season, total men and women, right? And all those games have been wins. So I'm like really convincing him, like, hey, the newsletter came out, if when we win, you win, so the tickets are on sale, and $1.50 beer night too. So Brian, and Taylor also came too, and that was his first game, and they won too. So Taylor, you're good luck now too. I don't make the rules. I just have to enforce them.
Really, it just boils down to if you had a friend come that has never come before, they have to come back. If you had a friend not show up that is always there, they are now banned from the stables until we find out exactly what it is.
Right.
They just got to take one for the team. We can just kind of whittle it down, but we just got to keep it exactly the same. It's just like not washing your socks, just like ever, and just continuing to play in the same socks because of the good luck. You'll probably end up with like a terrible fungus.
Foot. Yeah.
Yes, don't do that. You'll like lose a toe or something. So we're not endorsing actually doing that. But I don't know. You do you, whatever. But hey, I'm excited to be back with you guys. Dylan, you already talked about it. We're winning big because of that win. We got $5 tickets for the next match. They're doing $1.50 beers. They even had like 20% off online store because of it. I think it's expired now, but they had done that. Like a lot of cool stuff, which is awesome to see. You can tell the club was really like, we won. We got to do something for the fans. And they did multiple things for the fans. So I'm super pumped that we got all that going on, and hopefully we can have a really great crowd for this next one. But I don't know. Like, let's just jump into this match because I know we've been dying to talk about it. This match, like, let's be honest, going up against the number 1 team in the West, New Mexico United, that felt like a tall task. Like, considering our form, 13 matches without a win, only 4 of those being draws, not the greatest odds, right? Like, it kind of felt like going into the Hunger Games, and then we had that, like, weird lady being like, may the odds ever be in your favor, and we're like, okay, whatever, we get it. We're about to get like beat up by PETA or something. But we came out through this and like persevered. Let's just like kind of break into this a little bit. Okay. Like, I mean, let me hear you guys' thoughts. Jessica, did you honestly, in your heart of hearts, like, we're going to say we believed in a win, but at the same time, were you a little nervous?
Oh, absolutely. You want to go into a game hopeful, but there's still a level of skepticism, and that's definitely where I was. And even when we got the second goal, and I was like, there's still so much time. And there have been so many instances when we're doing really well and the rug gets pulled out from under us, and I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I think I was so anxious until the ref blew the whistle. Even in the stoppage time, all of us were just yelling at the ref to blow the whistle.
Yes.
And we're just like, oh my gosh.
That was my favorite because he was like pointing at his wrist to the fans, not to the players. Because usually you see them do that to the players, like, "No, we got time left." But he was actually like looking at the ref
Yeah,
section.
right.
No, there's still time. And we're like, "No, there's not. Blow that whistle. We've
I
seen this
know.
song and dance before. You don't do this to us. Don't you dare."
Right. Yeah. I mean, but in any case, too, as much as anxious as I was towards the end, like, okay, we've got to pull off this win. In my head, I was also kind of setting myself up for some disappointment. And that, like, okay, but if they score, at least it's a draw, And so
Yeah,
there were
so many
many
emotions.
emotions. Yeah, it was all over the place.
Dylan, like, be honest with me, man. When they scored first, do you think we were cooked?
I thought we were absolutely cooked, dude. I was like, man, we're just gonna go down and roll over and die because I've seen the song and dance before, and
Right.
then to my surprise, we turned it around and it was great, and it's so weird how we did it too because we did it in like such a complete opposite fashion of what we've seen the last few weeks. Like,
Yeah.
look at the stats and the possession numbers. Like, that is a huge indicator. We had no possession this game comparatively,
No.
right?
Which is weird.
Which is weird because every other game we're ball hoggers, right? We hold the possession a ton. It's almost like 90-10% in a game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But in this game, it got flipped around on us, and it worked in our favor. We literally played better that way, and we used players' strengths to our advantage instead of just kind of like letting the like tactics dictate it, instead of just like, oh, Adedokin's really athletic and he can beat players, so why don't we use that skill? So it was good. It was a refreshing win, and I think quietly we need to like talk about Brooks, right? Not like quietly, but like his performance is quietly understated. He only let in one goal, right? And the other team held a ton of possession, and there was a lot of pressure on him, to do well. And considering that there was no other, keeper in the 18 again, and only allowing that one goal in, and that one goal was like, I don't know, what was he gonna do?
It was too much. Whenever I saw, like, okay, so I don't know if everybody that listens is familiar with Mukwele Akale. Like, he's the guy that was really the one that built that play. He kind of did like the little 1-2 that got it to their goal scorer. He is known in some circles as the Minnesota Messi. Because he's from Minnesota. He kind of came up known for his ball handling skills. Like, he's kind of like on the smaller side and very quick, very agile, very skilled with the ball at his feet. And he's been in USL 1, and then obviously he's up at the championship level. He's actually a player that I was kind of hoping when we were going to go up to the championship that we might be able to pull in, because I know his quality, and he's just a very, very impactful player. And I think we saw that at many moments in the game. So much so that Dylan made it his sole job to heckle him whenever he could. Like, you were on that man. Like, every time that he was near us, you were letting him know what's up. But I saw him kind of setting up those connections, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this might be a goal because of the way he was moving, and it happened. And I had one of those moments like you guys where I'm like, all right, we went down a goal. Like, we do not usually claw back from that. And I think we were playing really, really well that first half. I really think that we were doing an awesome job. Now, the match in general, did we have some mistakes that were kind of intense? And we got away with a few, honestly. We had some giveaways in dangerous spots that were kind of silly mistakes. And, if New Mexico had found a way to capitalize, we probably would be singing a different song. So as good as the game was, it wasn't perfect. But I have to give this team props to come out after halftime and then almost have more energy than what they left with. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was said. I don't know if they played our last episode and they were like, prove these people wrong, or what it was. But I'm happy that whatever happened, because we came out firing on all cylinders. I couldn't be more pleased with the way we responded to going down a goal. We did not just give up. And, Dylan, you mentioned us like having an inverse in possession compared to normal, which is really strange for us. But I think one of the nice things about that is like normally we have so much possession without purpose. And I think we've said this on the podcast before. We're just holding on to the ball and we're moving it around, we're circulating it, but we're not really going to do anything with it. We're just going to pass it around their final third for like 5 minutes, and then nobody's going to shoot, or somebody finally crosses, but then it's an errant cross or gets deflected or nobody's there. This time, I feel like what works so well with us is that when we had possession, we were intentional about how we used it. And we didn't just dance around with the ball forever. We were like attacking. Like we got the ball, we moved into the final third, and we were making things happen. We were sending crosses in. We were trying to take shots. We were trying to find openings, and we weren't just taking our time doing so. It was boom, 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 boom. And I think that really suits who we have on this team. And I think it suits who our players are on that pitch. So it brings up a really interesting question of like the way we've played in the past obviously has not been working. This felt a little different, and it might not be necessarily by design. It could have been just, New Mexico was playing the game they were playing, and we had to respond any way we could. And this is what we ended up coming up with. Maybe it was preparation. Maybe we knew this is how we were going to do it. Maybe it was on the fly, like this is what they're doing, here's how we counter it. But what I am saying, and this is not going to work for every team, but I feel like, and maybe I'm alone on this, I feel like we need to play this way more often. It needs to be just quick counterattack, get up there, make things happen, reset, recover the ball, absorb pressure effectively. We did all those things in this match, and it turned out really fabulous for us.
Tyler, what you're saying is what I thought that like the whole point of this roster was, supposed to be. Like that mentality, that style that you're talking about, that's what I thought we were going to be doing. I thought, the performance, over the weekend was what I thought we would be seeing all season long, using those wings to our strength and sending in crosses and, getting those, even wide backs involved, like getting Joe involved and getting Kieran involved, getting a lot of guys wide involved and, putting crosses in. And that's where our goals came from, were from crosses. And not everyone was like a direct, assist, but a ball was crossed into the box and then, scooped up on by Zengay, right? So like the point still stands that using the wide play and, getting those crosses in the center and playing a reactive to the other team, a counterattack with those fast guys. We have fast guys. Medence is really fast. Adedokin is really fast. Epps is really fast. And those are guys who are fast with the ball at their feet too. And Medence is proven to just be like an illusion out there. Like he can get 3 defenders on him and still escape. It's kind of insane.
It really is. Like, I don't know. Looking at what we were doing and how we kind of tweak things, it was also just really cool in a lot of ways to see. I mean, of course, you want to see our attacking player score, but it was actually kind of cool to see like Sophie and Xavier get the goals that they did, because it showed that everybody was getting involved in an impactful way. And it was really, really cool. And there were a lot of people that had mistakes here and there in that match, but I feel like everybody recovered well and did really, really great, kind of making things happen. Sophie's goal, phenomenal. Getting a header on that ball and then sending it to the opposite corner from where the keeper was standing. That was amazing. Of course, you can't discount Xavier being in the right place at the right time, which, I don't know. I watched this back a few times. I kind of feel like we would have gotten a PK off of that, from that tackle, like that guy that came sliding in on Ajago and then wrapped him up at the legs. I had to watch that a few times, but it doesn't really matter because Xavier was in the right spot and had the wherewithal to turn and just fire off that shot. And just the vibes, not just from the fans, but from the players, you just felt like this release, like this.
Yeah,
we're doing it. Like we're doing it. We're making this happen. And that energy just poured into the crowd. Like, I don't feel like the crowd has been that energized, and you don't really pick it up on the broadcast. I went back to watch it because I'm like, I wonder how loud it was. Like on the broadcast, it doesn't sound like it should. It doesn't really do it justice. But everybody that was in that stadium knows that in the last like 3 minutes or so of that match, an LSC chant broke out and everybody in the stadium was screaming it. And it was the coolest thing ever. It gave me chills. Because at first, like, sometimes, you know, when you're yelling, you can't really tell that other people are yelling because you're so loud. And it's like, wait a second, what's happening? So for a moment, I actually stopped chanting LSC and I started like listening. I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've had a moment like that, honestly, since like way back at Georgetown. I think it maybe happened a couple times back at Georgetown, but not on that scale because we didn't have that many people there. But the whole entire crowd being there, I think it really showed whenever everybody was chanting that, trying to amp the guys up, because those last like 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes even, New Mexico was like putting the heat on us.
Yeah.
Like it very much felt like in other games where in stoppage time, the other team fires up out of nowhere. The ref gives them way too much time and then they pressure the heck out of us and then they score a goal, which in this case, to be fair, the ref didn't give them any more time than what was slotted. So they did a good job there, but it was really cool just hearing the fans provide that energy for the team. And you could tell with the way we were defending, it was pouring back into the players. And it was just electric. It was one of the coolest things that we've seen in a long time. And I think it really showed how much the players need the fans and the fans need the players to show that same passion and energy on the field. And we finally got a glimpse of it.
Yeah. I did get a little nervous in the stoppage time, those last few minutes, because I think which you need this, just, you know, get the ball out. But we kept just giving it right back to them for them to bring it back in. And I was like, okay, we need to be a little more intentional with this. And instead of just booting it, like actually try to get it to one of our players. I was definitely getting anxious because it's like, you know, as far as how many shots we're letting them get inside, you know, the third is at some point something's going to go in. So that's how I feel like I could not breathe. I was just holding my breath, like waiting for the ref to blow the whistle. It was,
Yeah, I was the same way. And like you brought up earlier, Tyler, I was heckling that one guy so much, and he had the ball a lot too. And I was getting so nervous that he was going to be the one to score, and I was going to be like, "Oh, damn, that's all on me," because I like, you know, even my friend was even like, "If he scores, you're going to like really hate yourself," and I'm like, "I know, I'm like so scared it's going to happen." I was so scared.
I was waiting for him to score and then look right in your eyes and hit you with too small.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was waiting. I was like, oh my God, Dylan, please don't let this come back and bite us, man. But sometimes you got to get in their head.
I saw all the multiverses happening, and, you know, I saw that one happening for sure. I saw that one.
I know, but we were protected. Protected. And, like, I don't know, like, I know we waited kind of late for subs, but I feel like the subs we put in were really, really effective. Like, Jacob Green, especially, sub-wise, he had so many blocks and just takeaways that he was keeping us in the game in those last few minutes in stoppage time. Like, he was doing phenomenal as a sub coming out onto the field. So that was like a super sub performance on a defensive type of mind. I don't know. I was really, really happy with that. Looking at everything that happened, like the totality of the game, obviously we have the goal scorers, and, you know, we could say, yes, goal scorers, and feel free to. Who's a player that kind of like stood out to you guys and really impressed? Jessica, who kind of like were you looking at and like, man, they had like a really great game, or like, man, without them, I don't know if this would have went that way.
Definitely Michael Adato. I have a certain way. I've been saying Adatican, but I heard it on the broadcast I
think he was saying it the wrong way.
I don't know.
That happens to me. I'm like, wait.
It, but Michael, he just really, he stuck out to me the most, for sure. Just with the crosses that he provided, and the opportunities he created there. And I feel like he was really good, at getting the ball down the field as well, to help create more opportunities. He was one for me for sure.
Dylan? I thought Burks had a really, really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like so strong and solid, and just being there at the right moments was super key. And he's just even like solid with his passing too. Just overall really good
Yeah.
player, and always like one of our standouts for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought he had just a really solid performance, and just like in those tense moments, like especially we've already talked about the possession of the other team, and how much they held it at the last couple of minutes, and how much we were sweating it, and how key he was in all minutes of the game. Just
Mm-hmm.
total domination from him. It was a great performance. Tyler, who you got?
Yeah, those are two really good shouts. Like, I don't think you can really go without saying Adedekan in these conversations. Like, him and Medence are the two most creative players on the team, or at least the ones that feel most comfortable being creative. And I remember on the broadcast, one of the commentators saying that he was literally everywhere. And he kind of was. It's like every time you needed him in a spot, he was there and he was doing something with it. Burks is another good shout. And I think sometimes, especially when we put up like our player of the match poll, sometimes people forget that defense is really, really key. And we
Yeah.
had to have a very strong defensive performance against somebody
Mm-hmm.
like New Mexico. And we did. I know we had that one goal that was let in, but I mean, against a team like them, that's not bad. That's really not bad at all.
Yeah.
And we divide our poll. Like, we have one on Twitter and we have one on Instagram, and then we combine the results of the two. On Twitter, like, Burks was actually ahead of everybody else as far as player of the match. So a lot of people out there are recognizing that, which is really cool to see, as opposed to just going default with goal scorers. So this match, those two were really, really sticking out to me. Obviously, Xavier Zinga is somebody, though, that I've been pleasantly surprised with. He's had like some up and down moments since he started getting some minutes in the starting role, but I feel like he's one of those players that's always going to recover if there is a mistake, and he's always going to make something happen to make up for whatever might have happened previously that was maybe not so great, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think, in this game, he really, really put his best foot forward, and he's just so good about not only finding connections, but making sure he's in good positions to contribute offensively and defensively. I really liked what he was doing on the field for us. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
he was really, really solid. This this overall, okay, when we look at this, it's super strange to think not even just possession. We've already like kind of talked about that, but statistically, we weren't really ahead on much besides like duels. Duels, we were doing great. We were winning lots of duels. Otherwise, they were beating us out on everything else. So it's kind of like weird because you see that a lot, actually. If you look at stats from a lot of games, you're not always going to find that the team that's winning every single type of statistic is the one winning the match. It's just the ones that are doing something with their chances. And looking at us actually taking shots like we took 16 shots and 5 were actually on target, which I know that's only about a third of them, but that's way better than what we've been with previous matches.
Oh
And
yeah.
that really, really matters. Not just taking the shots, but having a decent amount of them be on target. Like, that's huge. I mean, there were so many times their keeper had to come up clutch. Like, I don't know how some of those didn't go in, and I know we've said that from other matches, but it just always feels like we're like a hair's breadth away from getting an extra goal off of some of these attacking things
Mm-hmm.
that we're doing.
Another key stat in there too, as well, Tyler, is shots inside the box. We had
Yeah.
13, which is
Mm-hmm.
insane comparatively to our last few games. Because it feels
Yeah.
like anytime we're in the box, right, we're just playing with it. We're just like
Right.
dribbling around. And
Yep.
this
Mm-hmm.
time we're actually, putting our foot to the ball and trying to get it in the net,
Right.
instead of just trying to fiddle around with it.
It's true.
And I know there were seven total yellow cards.
Mm-hmm.
But both teams had 12 fouls committed. It was even. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought earlier about how I feel like, and unless I just didn't hear you guys mention it, this is the first game that we've had in a long time at home where we've been like, man, the ref is just not calling it very even. I would say I had no complaints.
This one wasn't bad.
Yeah, no. I actually didn't have any complaints from this one.
Yeah.
It was pretty fair.
Right. Yeah. Which normally we're like, oh man, of course they would call that on us and not them. It's no, he did it both ways. And I was really pleased with that as well. Just knowing that that's been a complaint in the past.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we need to request Matthew Thompson back.
Yeah.
Matthew Thompson, come ref all of our games. Like, I mean, you're right. That's a good point. Like, and I know some people want to be like, well, you're just saying that because we won. But no, truthfully, like, I feel that that's a very valid thing to say. Like, it didn't ever really feel like we were being cheated on calls. Yeah, like there were a couple where I was kind of like, that was maybe a little soft, but it wasn't like egregious to the point where you're like throwing your hands up, right?
And we probably got calls our way, that's
exactly
right too.
And I will give New Mexico credit; they weren't really a flopping style team, so like that was kind of nice to see because I feel like we've come up against a lot of teams that like to just like immediately fall on the ground and then be like, oh, your guy, he just like punched me in the face, and it's like that did not happen. That they walked by you and the wind blew and you fell over and now you're yelling for a yellow card. So I mean, props to New Mexico. I appreciated their play style in that regard, and maybe that helped make it a little bit better because they weren't sitting there trying to sell something every 5 seconds. So it was really good in that regard, And you also, I think there were some people like were wondering. We have Brooks Thompson back in net, and everybody's really excited for him to get some opportunities. I feel like he was way more ready to go for this match than the previous one. I feel like the first one was like shaking the rust off and try to get like back in form from not starting. And now I feel like he did really good on this one. That goal that he ended up having go in, that was not him. That was two of our defenders honestly did not track back in those moments to cover. It's like Akale breaks through and nobody notices. He literally goes on the back shoulder of 2 of our defenders and nobody sees it until it's too late and he gets the ball, which everybody starts looking at Akale, and then their striker pops in and then all of a sudden like he gets the ball and nobody's marking him. So that one wasn't really on Brooks in my opinion. So I thought he did a really good job with his, he had 4 saves on this particular match. So really, really good to see him filling in for Ketterer until Ketterer's match fit, and then who knows what's going to happen, right? We've seen that before where we have a keeper out of the mix for some reason, and sometimes you assume they're going to come back, but maybe sometimes the backup does so well that they end up staying with the hot hand. So that'll be kind of a curious thing. That's something that I'm kind of excited to watch and see what we're going to end up doing once Ketterer becomes available.
I would be interested in letting Brooks keep playing for the, let him go off this win and go into another game. I would be cool with that. And kind of getting back into the player performances, I actually feel like the goal scorers were probably the people on our team who had the worst performance, honestly. Like, not to be the negative guy, but like there were opportunities where Sophie made quite a few mistakes. And, there was one time where he was right in the box and he just kind of, he was right outside the box and he kind of fumbled it and then he drew a foul, but he really should have just shot the ball. Like he had a really open shot and he let the defenders get there. He got lucky, and I think that was kind of like I think he got away with the foul on it. But, and yeah, like you said with Zenge too, Tyler, like he does make mistakes, but he does try to make up for it as well. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like the guys who aren't on the score sheet are the guys who really help build this win. So like, we talked about Michael and we talked about Burks, and, Hafferty had a really good game as well. He was really instrumental in the defense, and obviously he got the assist as well. So, there's a lot of unsung heroes on this team, quiet night from Sargent, to be honest. Like, I would love to see him get way more involved. I really think, I think he's a fan favorite, and I think people like to see him get involved, especially in the attack. I think he's really dangerous there. And, I think with him and Adedokin, playing together, like, that should be something we should really take advantage of.
Yeah, that is something that I think all talked about, was that it's interesting that here lately with Edodokin on the same side, Sargent's become more defensive, and he's not
Mhm.
like busting out into the final third like he used to quite as often, which is interesting. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, what we ran this time ended up getting us a win. You just sometimes wonder, like, man, I wonder if we could still use him to kind of break into those spots and then allow like Edoking to drift inward, you know what I mean, a little bit more often. But hey, no fault. I understand if we're trying to use him in a more defensive setup because Michael is such a workhorse and he can do what he does, and it just seems like he never runs out of battery. So I mean, if it works, it works. It would be interesting to see though. Like I feel like we've played around with the cam spot a little bit and trying to figure out like who exactly we want to stay in that role. Like I like Medince out on the wing, but I kind of would like to see him tested in that cam spot. Maybe see what goes down. I think that'd be really cool, which I know that it's tough because he's cooking where he's at, but no fault for what we're running at the end of the day.
See, I know Kieran was we say he's pretty quiet back more in the defensive role, but I think it was quiet just because he did so well. And in earlier games, and especially in the where we sit, we can see how well he does at shutting down those crosses. So I actually really liked him where he was. And especially like you said, Tyler, with Adedokin out on the wing and having Sargent in the back in the defensive role, I think that worked out really well this game.
Yeah. We're definitely strong on our left side, that's for sure. We are definitely set up. So looking at this match and the result and us being able to take down the number one team in the West after kind of like some growing pains, let's say it that way, we've got another match on Friday. So slightly shortened week. We're going up against Colorado. They're 4 points ahead of us. They're also in the West, so they're 4 points ahead. They're in 8th. We're in 11th. Well, I guess technically 12th because of the tiebreaker. It's weird. It depends on what site you're looking at, but according to USL, we're still 12th. But there's no matter what, there's still only 4 points ahead of us. They've got one more win than us and one more draw. So that's kind of propelled them where they're at. Thinking about what we were able to do against New Mexico, but also considering the fact that we have played vulnerable teams and not been able to make it happen, what are we thinking? How are we feeling about this match? Which, by the way, is going to be on ESPN2. So that's kind of a big deal that they're going to be putting on ESPN2 because a lot more cable and satellite packages have that than like Golazo or ESPN Plus, obviously. So I think more eyes will potentially be on this game. We'll see.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to get too excited yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, just kind of riding the high of the win right now. It feels good to win. The Colorado, like, they're not in the best situation either. So like,
yeah,
it would be advantageous for us to take these 3 points, but like you said, Tyler, it's just kind of, any given weekend, any given day, really. And I don't know, we got a lot of work to do, like in terms of overall and the standings. If we were to win our next 3 games, that's still like, without anyone else scoring points, that would get us to the top, right? But that means all the other teams don't play, and all the other teams obviously have to play, and they will get points too. So we're in a really rough situation. We must win this game. This is a must win.
I think all of them are for the foreseeable future, honestly, based on kind of like where we are. I think that's fair to say. I think I'm riding the hot hand on this one. I think that we're going to get a win. I think we can pull off like a 2-0. against them. I just kind of feel it that the guys, like watching them not only play, but how they were after the match. It wasn't like a finally we won. Now let's go take a break. It was a okay, we won. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And I think it's actually going to play in our favor that we have a slightly shortened week because I think that they're going to still be riding that high. And I think they're going to go in with that same energy. And I think that they're in a place where something finally like broke. You know what I mean? The dam broke and they're just ready. And even with the interview with like Sophie, for instance, we asked in our last pod for like honesty in these post-match interviews and for them to just be candid with us. And Sophie was very candid in the post-match interview. Whenever, we were asking him questions, he was just like, honestly, times have been tough. Like people have been getting down and it's been hard. And we've been trying to keep motivated and stay on the front foot and stay positive. And so for us to do this finally, it means a lot, not just to us, but the fact that the fans are here, it means a lot to them and it means a lot to us that we can do that for them. So I think that that's the energy they're all going to come into this with is now we can do this. Like we've done it. We finally have broken the dam and we're going to keep these points flooding in. I don't know. I've got good vibes. I'm saying we got a 2-0 win on this one.
I think like we always hammer home on this podcast is consistency. So I really, really hope we don't steer away from what was working this past game. Yeah. Like that would really, it would concern me if we made like a lot of lineup changes, right? Yep. Like if we made only like 1 or 2 changes, I think I'd be okay with that. But I would really prefer if the same starting lineup went out and I would feel more confident going into the game that way. I really think what we did over the weekend worked, and that is what will work going forward from us. If we don't see that in this game, then I'm starting to go back to worried again, like what are we doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Consistency. That's all we ask for.
Yep. And maybe inject a little bit of that play style that we actually exhibited against New Mexico. I think that if we kind of make that a little bit more of our identity, we'll be seeing some stuff. Because obviously our previous identity, we gave it a lot of time to try and work, and it wasn't quite working. And I think this is who we are. I think we are the type of team that we get the ball, we do something with it quick, we're going to get goals. Not we get the ball, we hold on to it for 40 minutes, and then on the 41st minute, we give it away and somebody scores. Like, this is who we need to be, what we saw against New Mexico. And I just really hope we don't go back to seeing the team pass it for 5 minutes in the final third, just end up having to recycle it. So that consistency with the players goes with the tactics. It all needs to just be like, you know what? That worked. Let's keep that. So I agree 100%, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, if we're going back to holding possession too much, if we're at the game and we're sitting down and we're seeing the guys just in the other opposing final third, just, passing it around, then I'm going to get really defeated, then I'm going to be like, oh, this is the team we have been. And last week was just like lightning in a bottle. And I don't want that. I want us to play a consistent team style, and it work and just like keep going with that. And, if it doesn't work, then we try something new, but I don't want to like stick with the hot hand. That's always a good thing. Stick with the hot hand.
Right.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Definitely.
So it's good. Got good vibes. I'm feeling good vibes. I just, no matter what, it was nice to finally get a win. That just felt like we won a championship. That might be sad to say, but it was like a release. We were just like, oh my gosh, we finally got a win. It wasn't a draw. It wasn't a loss. Like we did something, and it felt so good. And I'm just ready to see more. I'm ready to see more.
And not only that, but winning against New Mexico, who's number one right now. Like, we went from feeling defeated because we tied Tampa, who's also at the bottom, to, oh my gosh, did we just actually do that?
Yes.
And so, like you said, it was a release. It felt like oh my gosh, okay, maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so it was, just a really good feeling to be able to walk away from that. And doing the post-game interviews, and like Dylan wasn't able to go out there with us, but he asked how things were, and we're like, it was nice to just go out there and not everybody be mad.
Yes, everybody was smiling and joking.
Again.
I know. It was a weird feeling, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. So I agree. Speaking of positives, we got to talk about USL2 a little bit. Like, we've been hitting like little highlights here and there, keeping people up to date. This is a huge week for our USL2 squad. So they are 7 games unbeaten. Coincidentally, the other team in our division, in the Valley Division, that is also 7 games unbeaten, is who we're playing Wednesday night. So we're going up against Fort Wayne FC in Indiana. They are slightly ahead of us in the standings. That's because they have one more win than us. We have a draw where they have a win. And so it's very, very tightly contested between us. Not so much whenever you think about the other teams. Our 2 teams have pretty much firmly pulled away from everybody else, even with there being about, I think it's 5 more matches left in the season. A lot of crazy things would have to happen for it to be one of the other teams that ends up on top of the division and not us or Fort Wayne. Because at this point, with them having 19 and us having 17 and the next closest having 8, it's kind of the writing's on the wall, right? So that being the case, this matchup, and there are plenty of points left. There are plenty of points left to take. So I'm not saying that this is going to finalize who wins the division. But in some ways, it kind of feels like this might finalize who wins the division if somebody ends up getting 3 points off of this. Now, if we draw, all right, we'll just have to hope that somebody handles business and defeats them, and then we continue winning and drawing and doing our thing. But I think that if we can get 3 points off of Fort Wayne on Wednesday, we have a very, very good chance to actually make it out of our division and into the playoffs for USL2. This is, like, I don't know about you guys, this USL2 team, I don't really know what to make of it. I feel like I'm like in a fever dream because I'm not used to one of our teams in this club battling for a top spot regularly. Like, let alone like essentially running away with the division along with the other team at the top. So it's kind of a strange feeling that we have this going on. And it's a little, in some ways, kind of a bummer that you have all these other USL2 teams that are pulling in like thousands of fans to come watch them, which granted, in some of those markets, that's all they have is a USL2 team. They don't have USL1 or championship. They might not even have a women's team. So that's something you have to note. Right. But in some ways, it's like, man, I wish more people were like watching this and seeing this go down. I don't know. I feel
I agree with you. Like, but they really need to figure out the sports engine thing, because I really tried to watch the last game, and it was just
wouldn't work.
Awful. It just didn't work at all.
Didn't work at all. I tried refreshing it 40 times.
I know, like I couldn't get anything to work. So it is really frustrating, and obviously that's kind of like team dependent because they're the ones in charge of broadcasting it. So not everyone's going to be the best at it. Right. But it really should be like required to like be able to have a stable connection, because all these people need to have access, and all these games should have like video evidence of some sort. And like, just as a fan, like I want to be able to see these games even if I'm not able to like attend them,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would feel that way too. So
I will say it tends to work when it's a home game.
Yes.
So I don't know if it just has to do with like the streams for the other teams, but when it's a home game, if I can't make it and have to watch it, it seems fine.
Yeah.
But all these away teams, it just never works. I can't ever catch more than a few minutes, and then it'll do weird things like skip back to the beginning out of nowhere, and then won't let me progress at like past like 20 minutes or something random. But I don't know. Well, hopefully it'll work better in Fort Wayne. Because I'd really like to watch this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like last time we played them, it was a 1-1 draw. And I don't know that a lot of people know this, but Fort Wayne is actually going to be moving up to USL 1 after this year. And so like back when One Knox they joined the same time as we did into USL 1, but they were a USL 2 team before that. And so they took a lot of their players from USL 2 and brought them to USL 1. And so I don't know that people realize that Fort Wayne actually has a lot of players with USL 1 either talent or pedigree. And so in some ways, it's almost like who out of this team is going to perform good enough to come with us as we make the move up. Whereas not every USL 2 team is set up that way. Obviously, that is not really our whole setup, right? Because we already have our championship squad. And of course, some of these players might be getting looks to eventually join that squad. Who knows? But to be able to defeat them would be a really, really big deal. Last night, actually, well, by the time people are listening to this, it might be 2 nights ago, I actually joined some guys. They started a pod, Fort Wayne Footy. So they're covering Fort Wayne soccer. Really nice guys. They brought me on to talk a little bit about our USL2 team and just kind of what we're doing here and kind of our soccer culture, because theirs is budding, theirs is growing. And they kind of wanted to see like how the process kind of plays out a little bit, which of course everywhere's different. But they told me that their defense is pretty solid. They're expecting to be able to try and pull something off where they get a win just based off of that alone. And then they have a couple pretty talented goal scorers. Now for us, you can say the same. Like we have some people that keep popping up, like Martinez. Like he keeps showing up on the score sheet. He's got 3 goals for us already. Cannon Scretchen's got 3 assists. Dude is just sending in service right and left. So that's really great. And I know the league actually gave a shout out to Marcus Meir, who plays for UK. He's actually the captain for UK's squad, University of Kentucky, right? And he's doing awesome in defense. Like he is essential. He's a pillar on our defensive side of the ball. And, we've had several other names kind of move in and out into the squad and do their thing. Lewis Johnson is always balling out. He's somebody that is regularly taking shots. He also has some assists under his belt. So I think it's a pretty high possibility that we come out with a win out of this one. I'm very hopeful. I know one thing's for sure, like out of all the matches that we have, this is the one team where I'm like, all right, that's a must watch. So if you are listening and you've not watched any USL2 from our squad, you got to watch this, and hopefully the app will work. Like that's the one caveat. But I guess if not, Indiana's a relatively short drive away. I don't know. Fort Wayne, how many hours is that? I feel like it's a few, isn't it?
It's like
3.
Yeah, 3 to 4, maybe.
Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. I feel like it's like 3-ish or something. But I don't know. Like this is the one that you can't miss. Like I just feel. Oh, I want them to win so bad, because how cool would that be to have our USL2 squad at least make it into the playoffs for USL2 and, actually make a run, because the USL2 is kind of tough. There are a lot of teams in that division.
Yeah, there's a ton of teams.
It's pretty loaded with teams.
Yeah.
So it's no small task to be able to make it to the playoffs. It's
the players that you mentioned, I really hope that we can maybe see them on the championship roster at some point. Obviously not immediately starting or anything, but it would be cool to see them get some minutes to, test them out. And I really hope that's what the USL 2 is for, to help build these guys up. And like specifically the names you mentioned. And there's a lot of guys on that team who are playing really well, and they're like fun. Like I like the style of play that they, that they play. It's fun to root for.
Yeah. And their next home game is June 25th at 7
for us. Yeah.
So next
we got some time to plan.
Yep.
Yes. And it's funny that you mentioned that too, Dylan, about hoping to see them, because when I was on Fort Wayne Footy, they actually asked, they're like, okay, so like these USL2 guys, do they get call-ups to the championship squad? And I was like, well, we're not really doing that right now, which, I mean, in the past, we've seen call-ups. We've seen us take kids out of the academy or UPSL squad and at least let them train with the first team, if not actually feature. We're seeing some of that happen, with academy players for our W League squad. And of course, we've seen some of our W League players and academy players feature in Super League. And, I think it'd be really, really cool because, I mean, some of our players that we have on the championship squad that have been included in the 18 are fresh out of college. Like it's not like it's unheard of, because many of these USL2 players are either in college or have just finished college, or aren't far from being done with college. So they're in that age range. It's not really unheard of. So if the talent's there, I feel like, why not? Why not see, at least maybe include them in training and kind of figure out, okay, like how can we eventually build you up to where you can feature in the squad for us and really try and enhance that pipeline a little bit more. I think that's something that we can really look forward to. At least I hope so. But I don't know. I just know that there's some really good talent on there, and it'd be kind of a shame for us to not tap into a little bit of that at least and explore what they do have to offer. So we'll see them. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for all that. I just know that like I'm amped. I'm feeling like this would be a week of weeks if we come off of that New Mexico win and then we see our USL2 squad win against Fort Wayne, and then we get another win on Friday against Colorado.
Whew, would be awesome.
Man, oh my gosh. That would be like the best string of results we had in a long, long time. So I'm really just manifesting it. Like I need it to go down for everybody's mental health. We need that to go down so we feel good about summer. We don't want like right now. I feel like before the New Mexico game, we were like stuck in some weird like British version of summer where it's cloudy all the time and we're eating like mince pies and I don't know, everybody's sad.
Smiths.
Yes, we're listening to the Smiths, and that's just kind of where we were at. And now we're in like California summer, and everything's fine. And I've got my SPF on, and everybody's like,
Boys.
Yeah, people are breaking out into song, and somebody just like threw me a taco, and I'm playing beach soccer, and I don't know, all kinds of good things are happening. So I want that feeling all the time. I need that feeling all the time. So
I would, you catching a taco is just an image.
I would catch it, take a bite as I kick the ball across to you guys, and then we're just like in like a cool movie montage, slow-mo beach soccer, chilling, eating tacos. Our teams are winning. Everything's right in the world. Taco soccer, my two favorite things. All right, perfect. Oh, okay. So break it down. Watch USL 2. Come out Friday night. $1.50 beers, $5 tickets. It's on ESPN2. So if you can't make it out, look there for the match. But you should be out there so we can hopefully have another really cool moment like we had against New Mexico where we're all like chanting at the same time. That is that has to be in like my top 5 cool moments now for LSC, because I feel like that's the first time it's happened on that scale. And now it's like burned into my core memory bank.
I was like so locked into the moment, and like I was cheering too, that like I honestly didn't even know that like other people were doing it. Like that's how locked in I was. I thought I was like the only one chanting it. That's how like locked in. It was crazy.
I had like one of those like 90s sports movie kid moments where like I'm cheering, and then all of a sudden I like look around and it's like in Mighty Ducks where everybody's going whack, 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 except it's LSC, and I'm like, yeah, we're living in a 90s sports movie, we're winning. So it's now a core memory. I'm hanging on to that baby. So I'm ready for another one though. We need to replace those with even better ones, so that way I can keep reverting and like kind of readjusting my top 5. That's how many good memories I want coming our way. We cannot slow down. We can't.
So I was just checking the women's league schedule as well. They have a game the same time as the men on Friday.
Dual wield.
Yep.
Go watch the women in person and then watch the men's game on your phone. We're dual wielding out here. Or even better, like somebody just roll up and ask LSC if we can plug in like a giant projector screen. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be neat?
Play on
like stream the women's game
let them play in the stadium and then just stream it to the screens.
That would be dope. That would be super cool. Oh man, operating costs though, but I'm cool with it. Not my money. It's not me paying. Let's do it. I'm all on board. All right, guys. So might be a minute till we record again. Kyle and myself, we're going to be on vacation. So next week, no pod. But who knows? Maybe something will happen if like there's some reason to celebrate, and we'll like hop on at midnight on Friday night and just be like, "Did you see us win again?" You never know. I don't know. I don't want to say it won't for sure happen, but we're hoping for awesome vibes, awesome wins, awesome crowds. Everybody get out there, do your thing, support them. You know what it is. Come on, you Greens.